Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel and back to the garage. I'm Richard, this is Lap of the World, and today we're going to be replacing a rear lower ball joint on our 92 NSX. Stick around. Right, so on our way back from NS Expo this year, which was out in Seattle, I noticed at highway speeds on some of the grooved roads up in Montana and Washington State, there was a little bit of vagueness to the rear end that wasn't there before. And the long story short, once we got home, I have diagnosed that to being a rear lower ball joint, which we now need to replace. So, without any further ado, let's get into that. Before we dive right in, let's talk about diagnosing this failure since it can be a bit tricky. The first clue for me was that bit of vibration I mentioned and an ever so slightly vague feeling from the rear end at highway speeds, with more micro adjustment than usual needed to maintain a straight course, and a little float due to the camber and toe in that corner changing fractionally with the surface. Inspection revealed an odd wear pattern on the inside of the right rear tire. From experience, this isn't something that would present with a wheel bearing, so that meant a bushing or a ball joint. In an effort to find what was loose, I took to shaking the rear wheel. There was no play shaking the wheel from the 12 and 6 o'clock positions and very little from 9 and 3, but there was notable play when shaking from the 10 and 4 positions. With someone else shaking the wheel, I was able to visually confirm play in the lower ball joint, with no apparent movement from any of the inboard control arm bushings. With the issue isolated, we can now get on with fixing it. The first thing you'll need is, of course, a replacement ball joint, and you have options here. Pride and Hard Race appear to be the least expensive advisable options and are anecdotally good quality. If you want the original Honda part, I believe you are stuck purchasing a whole knuckle through that parts chain at the moment. For my part, I've purchased a Diamond Series ball joint from Rare Parts in California for a slight premium. For context, I'd previously had all of my car's ball joints replaced by Steve Gent as a service, and while it seems he's out of the game, he did respond to share that he had commissioned his replacement joints from Rare Parts, where you can still buy them. As a micro review, the now failed part was installed in 2015 and has lasted 10 years and approximately 80,000 total miles, but as always, bear in mind that probably 8,000 of that 80,000 were on a track, so they would likely last essentially forever on a street-driven NSX. Now, in addition to a new lower ball joint, you'll need the following tools and supplies: a torque wrench, an assortment of ratchet handles, a medium extension, 10, 12, 14, 17, and 19mm sockets, a 19mm box wrench, needle nose pliers, snap ring pliers, a ball joint separator tool, a large hammer, an assortment of cylindrical drifts capable of absorbing blows from that hammer, a pick, a Sharpie, a heavily modified ball joint press, and the option of a torch and an impact gun. The ball joint press modification is probably plan B for most, and if you're getting ready to do this without one already laying around, I would recommend just buying a Schwaben 80 to 120mm ball joint separator, understanding that this will be used to press in the new ball joint versus its intended purpose as a separator. More on that later as we get started. Moving to the back of the car, I'm going to gloss over a little of the basic disassembly up to the point of dealing with the ball joint itself. If you are in deep enough to consider this DIY, then removing a wheel, brake caliper, and rotor should hopefully be basic stuff. One thing I would suggest is marinating the ball joint in penetrating oil for a few days before you start to help break up any corrosion between the joint and the knuckle. As we get to separating the ball joint from the lower control arm, I'll give a quick shout out to Chris Lum for motivating a ball joint separator upgrade in the form of this tool that fits and works on the NSX with no modifications, unlike the pinch style tools that I've used in the past. I've linked his ball joint video in this video's description for a more detailed reference, but suffice to say a few ugga-duggas on the screw made quick work of popping the taper. Moving on, with the ball joint separated, pause to remove the wheel speed sensor from the knuckle and detach it from the lower control arm. This will avoid potential damage with the next steps. Use your Sharpie or scribe to mark your alignment adjuster before then loosening off the front and rear lower control arm mounting points to let the control arm fall away from the ball joint. We're now ready to tackle removing the ball joint from the knuckle. Start by removing the rubber boot, use your pick to unwind the retaining ring, and pull the boot off the stud. Now, depending on how much and in what conditions your NSX has been driven, it may require a little cleaning to find the retaining clip for the ball joint, and use your snap ring pliers, needle noses, or a screwdriver to remove it from the groove in the ball joint housing. With the clip out of the way and with the ball joint having been hopefully soaking for a while in penetrating lube, it's time to bust out your preferred BFH to remove the joint. We're over here on the workbench now with what I'm going to refer to as our stunt knuckle for close-up demonstration purposes. So with things upside down for clarity at this point in time, we can show you how we're going to extract our ball joint. The solution does appear to be to just hit it with a big hammer. Some quick ball joint anatomy here. This ball stud is pushing on this thinner end cap right here. So odds are if we just wailed on the ball stud, it's just going to pop the ball out and deform this rather than popping the whole joint out, which is what we're trying to liberate. So to accomplish that, you're going to need a drift that has a hole in it. In this case, I'm using some large 3/4 inch drive impact sockets because this fits nicely over here, but then rests on that very firmly. And then we're just going to whack the crap out of it. One note I will make is when you're doing this in the car, again, I'm doing this without removing the axle. So you're going to have the axle in the way right here, but there is enough room for this to come out. So you can see once it's loose, you can kind of push up and then pull it towards yourself, like use the flange there, and then you should be able to kind of tip it out. To install the new ball joint without the need to remove the axle, you can now either hack up a C-clamp style ball joint press with at least a 5 to 6 inch stroke, as I've done here, or you can employ the Schwaben tool that I noted earlier. If you opt for the Schwaben tool, you'll want to find or fabricate a 1/4 inch steel disc as a load spreader to make sure you're pushing on the outer rim at the top of the joint for installation, as the middle is thinner material and may deform, damaging the joint. Position a cup or cylinder wider than the ball joint opening and deeper than the length of the stud to press the new joint into place. A very thin layer of anti-seizer light grease can help, as can tossing the new ball joint in the freezer overnight prior to installation. Regardless, make extra sure that as you start pressing the new joint in, it's going in straight. Assuming that's the case, then once it bottoms out, you can disassemble your clamp press situation for the last steps. With our tool now in place, you can see we do have some clearance with our mock axle. The real axle, this will be a little bit tighter of a fit, which is why I have it cocked over to the side. That's what you're going to need to do on the car. The key thing here is this spot here. As we zoom in just a moment here, you want to make sure over on this side that the outer loop of this is only pushing on the outer rim of the top of the ball joint. This outer rim here can support load and is pretty thick. This inner area here is thinner material and could deform and damage the ball joint if you put point pressure on that. Remember to add grease to the boot and the joint before installing. When looking for grease, your keywords are going to be high pressure, waterproof, and moly, meaning the grease will hold up to point loads and not wash out. From this point, reassembly is more or less the reverse of disassembly. The torque spec for the castle nut is 43 foot-pounds. Don't forget the cotter pin. Don't forget to line your match marks back up on your camber adjuster. And then torque everything else to spec. All right, so we should be done. We have liberated the old ball joint, replaced it with a new ball joint. The wiggle in the wheel is gone. If I try and shake it at the 10 and 4 position, it doesn't move now. So I just need to go for a test drive, get the car back on the ground, go for a test drive, and make sure everything feels good, and potentially get an alignment check. Just since I did have the control arm loose and moved around, if it feels funny at all when I'm driving it, it might need a little bit of a tweak to the toe and camber settings on that side. Although I did have the alignment done at a point prior to the ball joint having play. Stuff moves, so good thing to check after the fact. With that said, I think we are done here. We hope you found the video informative, if not entertaining, and it's either given you the motivation to tackle this one yourself, or perhaps disincentivized you from trying to take this one on. In either case, totally understandable. You know, you gotta understand your limitations. In this case, I was fortunate. I think I've stayed within my limitations this time. I'll know after I drive the car, I suppose. But before we ramble any further, thanks again for watching. Consider subscribing if you did find it useful. And until next time, I'm Richard. This is Lap of the World. We'll see you guys all in the next video, if not up at Pit Race a week or so from when I'm filming this.